This is going to be a tutorial on how to mod Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights. This isn't going to be a modeling tutorial at all, so you have to understand to some degree the basics of Blender, because we're going to be using Blender here. But I want to go over how everything operates, how all the files work together, how the game editor works, and all of that, and make this specific to Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights. So first and foremost, you do need to have a GameCube ROM of Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights. We use the GameCube ROM specifically. We don't really edit with Xbox or like PS2 because everything that we do is through Dolphin, which Dolphin is going to be the emulator for GameCube games. So let me just explain a few other things here. So Industrial Park is going to be the game editor that we use. Now, Industrial Park is a fantastic program. It was made by a bunch of volunteers. It's been in development for a really long time now. But this game, this community really only makes mods for SpongeBob Battle of Bikini Bottom. You might be thinking, okay, like what does that have to do with the Scooby-Doo game? Well, SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom, SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom, and Scooby-Doo 900 Frights, they were both made by the same development company, Heavy Iron Studios, and it was both used with the same engine. So naturally, all the tools that were made for this SpongeBob game also work for our Scooby-Doo game. That being said, because this community doesn't really mod the Scooby-Doo game, we can only use this specific version of Industrial Park. Okay, so when you're downloading Industrial Park for your own use, if you're trying to mod this game, you have to download this one. And I have it. And this, by the way, all of the all of the things listed here, these are all clickable links, so it will take you exactly where you need to go. But make sure you download this one, okay? And I'm going to go into depth of what all these things do. But anyways, there's a few other things that you need. For one, you need to have Blender, and we're going to use Blender 4.5.3. Make sure you get this one specifically. It's like the latest version that allows you to use some of the file types that we use to mod this game. Anything after it is not going to be supported, particularly the .dae files. But and this is also the version I use, so it's best to just use that one. And you're going to need all of these different add-ons. So Dragon DFF, and all these importers. These are all going to be add-ons that allow you to import and export specific file types, because we're using a lot of different file types when we're modding this game. So Dragon DFF, let me see if I can find that here. Nope, I don't think it's up there. So I'm going to open the link. This was not made by someone in our community. This was made by somebody else, and I think they made it specifically for, GTA games, but it happens to work for this. What else? This is going to be an importer for .anm files. So not a specific title for add-on, but this is what you need to download. And then we have the animation importer that I made. So let me see here. This is all through GitHub. So anytime you're on GitHub, you want to go to code and then download zip if it's not going to look like this. So on my screen here, code, download zip. Okay. So before you do anything, you want to just make sure you have everything that you need downloaded. The next thing that you want to install is going to be Visual Studio, specifically for C++. Now, if you go to the Visual Studio website, which again, this link will take you there. Actually, yeah. You want to click on Get Free Download. And I downloaded it again just so I can show you. And don't worry, you're not going to have to code anything. It's just there's again another file type that requires you to have C++ installed. So you want to go down here and you want to have desktop development with C++. It is so important that you have this downloaded. Otherwise, random things will not work. You want to hit install and just let it install. Again, you will not be programming here, but for whatever reason, like C++ is going to be required. And then also you want to have it like a 2D editor for textures, but I'm going to be using Photoshop. Now, first thing that we want to do is we want to extract the, what is it called? The files from our game. So in order to do that, we have to go to not Blender, Dolphin. And if you've never used Dolphin before, it'll say something like double click here to set your directory. When you double click it, you'll set your directory for where all your games are. Now, if I right click this and I go to, what is it, open containing folder. If you have a zip file with your ROM in it, you'll just want to right click and then hit extract here. And then what will happen is it will show this .rvz file. And that's what Dolphin reads, is those RVZ files. We have so many file types. So once we have that in there, it should show up, well, it will show up in this list here. And what I want to do is I'm going to right click and go to properties. And then I'm going to go down to file system. And what you'll notice here is this is all of the data for this game, all of it. It's kind of confusing looking, but what we want to do is right click and then we're going to go to extract entire disk. Again, I'm extracting at the very, very top here, this disk here. I'm right clicking and then extract entire disk. What you want to do next is you want to have a folder for all your files. Now I already extracted, so I'm not going to do it again. But it's very important that you have a file that holds all this data. Otherwise, it's just going to be a jumbled mess. You're not going to know where to find anything. You're probably going to run into weird glitches and issues. So just make a folder, even make a folder within a folder like I did, because I have my tutorial files and all that. So once you do that, you're going to hit select folder. I'm not going to do it because I've already done it. But once you select a folder, it'll have a little loading screen, and then it'll confirm when it's extracted. So I'm not going to go into too much detail yet, or maybe I will. I'm not sure yet. Let's take a look at what we have here. So if I go to Scooby-Doo files, or Scooby whatever files, there's two folders. There's going to be files and system. System has, you're not going to be using this too much. This main.dol, this is what actually runs in Dolphin. So it runs in Dolphin base, and then whatever it shows in the game is based on all of these files. So if you go to files, there's a lot going on here. So what you'll notice is that you have everything alphabetized. These are all maps. So B0, I mean, well, okay, the folders represent areas in the game. So I think this is the basement, but it's all the maps representing the basement. And then the .hip files, the HIP files, those are the actual maps. Those are the maps with all the assets and the data within them. And that's what we're going to be like working out of. I don't want to get too ahead yet, but yeah, this is everything. You have this is the maze area, which we're going to be working out of that. But let's open up one of these HIP files and just kind of see what we're looking at here. So again, what is it? The game editor that we're using is Industrial Park. So I already explained that you need to get this specific version of Industrial Park. You don't want to just search Industrial Park and get the released one. It might have fancier features, but we can't use that. So Industrial Park, you want to open up the .exe file. It should have the SpongeBob, whatever, spatula. What I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to close this so I can show you what it looks like. I'm not going to save. It might be like a smaller window when you open up for the first time. But anyways, what you want to do is click on Archive Editor. And I'm not going to explain what all this means yet, because it's going to be overstimulating. Like Industrial Park has a bit of a learning curve, so we're just going to take it one step at a time. So you want to go to Archive Editor. You want to click on Open Level. And you notice a couple different things. So you'll have HIP file, you have hop file, and then boot. The only thing that you're going to be concerned about is HIP file, right? Hop file we don't use. Boot, this is going to show up automatically when you select your HIP file. The boot file is a collection of assets and data that make the game run. It's required to make the game run. If you don't have a boot file, the game's not going to run. So just leave that alone. Don't even touch it. Go to HIP file. You're going to collect on the three dots. And we're going to find our HIP file that we want to use. So I'm going to go to our directory. So again, files, system, we're going to click on files. And then remember, we have, this alphabetized list of different files. The file that I want you to go to specifically, I want you to go to E0 and then E001. It's really important that you specifically pick this one because this is what we're going to be working out of, okay? So e001.hip, I'm going to click open. And look, it shows the hip file and where the directory is. And then it also automatically pulled up the boot file. So you don't touch this, just leave that alone. I'm going to click open level. Now, you'll notice that there's an error that pops up. Just click OK and click OK again. You're always going to have errors when you're using anything in this program. Wow, this looks crazy, you might be thinking. Yeah, it does look crazy because it's showing all the data, and we can change this. It is not going to look like this in a minute here, but I want to show you how to control the program. And for one, if you maximize, it'll be easier to see. This is as far as like navigating through the map, it's super easy. If you hold down the middle mouse button, you can, change the direction you're viewing. This uses the WASD keys, just like a game. So if I hold down the mouse button and I can move around, left being A, S being backwards. If I hold down Shift and then W, I can go up, or Shift S to go down. And if you want to take a look at all of the controls, you can go to, Options, and then View Controls. And that shows how to do everything. But we're gonna, just stick with the basics right now. I don't like the way this looks. This is very overstimulating. It's kind of giving me anxiety. I'm gonna go to Display, and I'm gonna go to Asset Types. Now this is where you can toggle all of the different asset types and what you wanna see, what you don't wanna see. So, I don't wanna see volume, I don't wanna see trigger, and I don't wanna see SFX. And that's better, but now I have these annoying large effing things that I don't want to see. So this is going to be a perfect segue into kind of how the maps operate. So first and foremost, I want to talk about how there's two different windows here. You have the E001 HIP file window, and then you have our boot. Again, we do not touch the boot. Don't touch the boot. I'm going to minimize this because that is what is like holding the game together. So we're going to go to E001, and I want to remove these. How do we do that? Well, first I need to explain what the layers mean. The layers, this is basically like, it shows the order in which like what is being loaded into the game. So textures are loaded first, our map data, our models, animations, which I think animations are showed in a different, they're showed here. So this is basically everything else. Like this is everything that isn't organized, but it's important to understand that textures are always going to be rendered in first, and then BSP, and so on and so forth. So whenever if you hit like add, we're not going to do it right now, but if you hit add, it will add a new layer. And you just want to make sure like your textures are like in that first layer, and it's set up in a specific way. We're not going to go over here, but let's talk about how to remove these. In the BSP layer, you'll notice there's three different files here. You have the main one, and it lights up in red what's being selected, which is nice. You have the main one. You have this like no collide. So this represents things that players cannot collide with, but it's still separated from the main map. I don't really know why. I'm sure there's a reason for it. Maybe we'll cover it in a different video. And then you have the not visible. Okay, this is what it is. So this is just like this invisible wall that the player cannot pass. It makes it so players can't just like run off into the distance and die. I'm gonna uncheck that. So that's so much better. So much better. So let's talk about how to like edit, game assets. Like what do we do from here? Well, what I want to do is I want to take a look at this wolf dude, and I want to change the color of his coat. I want to make it blue instead of green. And I want to maybe later we'll change his model and make him gain a little bit of weight, But let's just start with the color of his coat. So, what is it? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take him. I'm gonna move him I'm gonna scroll out a little bit. I'm gonna move him all the way to the start of the map, so that way when we boot up the game, we can test him out and make sure he works. Now, this is a perfect way to explain how a little bit complicated this user interface is. And that's okay. Like, this was made by volunteers, but there is going to be a bit of a learning curve here. So you'll notice that when you click on an asset, like if I click on the Scooby snack, it will show in this window here. It'll highlight the file, right? So if I click on the Wolfman, Wolfman is right there. You have Wolfman 1, Wolfman 2. The way that you view and edit information for a file is you'll click on Edit Data. Now, you might be thinking, oh, this must be the file for this model. Well, for not that model. This must be the file for this Wolfman model. It's too crazy. You know what I'm talking about, the model. It is not. So this file holds all of the data for the villain, right? So this tells the game, hey, this villain is a Wolfman, and this villain is using this model, and it's here is the speed of the model of the villain. Here is the radius in which it can detect. So this is all the data for the villain. This is not the data for the model. So if you went and you hit export, you're going to be disappointed because it's not going to have what you need. What to find the model, in order to find the model, what you do is you click under entity references, and then where it says model, you'll notice it says wm.minf. This is not the model. Okay, let me just make that very clear. This is not the model. This is very misleading. I'm gonna explain here in a minute. I'm gonna click on these little dots, and a new window will pop up. This is the model info. Okay, hence M for model, and then info. INF, model info. This shows a few different things, okay? This shows our animation table, which I'll explain briefly, but the animation table is an array of different animations, and depending on what the player does to this villain, it will play a different animation. So it shows, this is the animation for chasing and whatever. We're not going to dive too deep into that, but this is where all the animation files are. And then what you'll notice here is under references, because what we want to do is we want to find the model. If we go to model info references and click on that, the model is wm_bind.dff. That is the model. Okay. So just to recap how many steps it takes to find the model for this MFer, I'm going to click out of all this. I have to click on the villain. Okay. Wolfman 2. I'm going to click on edit data, scroll all the way up, and under entity references, I'm going to click on the wm.minf. And that's going to open up the model info. And then under references, I'm going to find the model there. So if I click on this, the 3 dots next to wm_bind.dff, that's going to show up this, okay? This is what we need. This is what we need. This is the model, wm_bind.dff. So just so you're aware, if you don't want to do all this, you can find, like, the models in this game always have bind next to it, next to an underscore. So if I click on bind, it's right here. So wm_bind, that's going to be the wolf. WC_bind, that's the witch. That's this one right here. Okay. ZZ is the zombie. Again, if you don't remember like which one is which, you can find it by clicking on the model, but it's always gonna have bind next to it. So what I want to do, I'm going to go back to wm_bind and hit edit data, or you can go through all the steps like we just did. And I want to export this model and the textures. This might seem confusing, like pipe info, level of detail, shadow. This is all irrelevant. The only thing that we care about is like textures, import model, export model. We're going to export the model, and I'm going to click this little checkbox for export textures. I'm going to click export. Now, for characters, this isn't for maps. For characters, we have to export as a DFF. Okay, so that's just what we have to do. It's the only way that works, from what I understand. So I'm going to click OK, and make sure you have export textures checked off as well. So I'm going to go to, I made a folder for character files. I suggest doing that just so everything's organized. So I'm actually going to delete, what is it? Because I exported earlier, but I'm going to do it again. I'm going to hit save. Yes. Okay. So I saved, let's see, I saved everything. Okay, one thing you'll notice too is that when you, my pictures are crazy. It's for my videos. When you go into a different folder, everything from Industrial Park is still showing, which is kind of annoying. So I'm just gonna X out those. We can view them later. I'm gonna go back to my directory. I'm gonna go to character files, and what you'll notice is you have your DFF file, the WM_bind, and then and we also have this, which is the texture for the Wolfman. So that's what we're gonna edit. What I want to do is I want to make this, I want to make his jacket and pants blue. So how do we do that? Well, we just need to open up a photo editor, like Photoshop. So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to go back here. I'm just going to drag this into Photoshop. So pretty basic. Now you might be thinking like, okay, what do I select? If you view this, and if you view the model in Blender, which I'll show in a minute, you can see pretty clearly what color goes with what. But just for the purpose of this tutorial, this green right here, this affects the jacket and the pants. So if I change the color of this, I'm just gonna do this. And then I'm sure there's a better way to do it, probably the bucket, but whatever. Okay, so that's blue now. So I'm going to go to that, and I'm going to export as PNG. Export. No, not there. That's for my video. A different video. Tutorial files. I'm going to just save this. I have a separate place that I put the updated textures just so I can differentiate the two. So, so what do I do here? Well, if you notice, oh, my foot's asleep. That's driving me crazy. Hold on a second. I want to wake up, foot. Okay. If you notice, the texture is named CWM00001 or whatever. So, and then also, if you closed out of your window and you need to bring it back up, all you have to do is go to Archive Editor and then your map file. So that'll bring up the window again. So it's CWM00001. If you forget the name of it, it's also here under textures. It'll show you what the name is, but you have to go and physically type it out to find it. So what I need to do is I need to replace this. And you replace this one with the texture we just made. Now you might think that you go here and then click on import. Do not do that. It will screw it up. It will not work. What you need to do instead is you need to delete this. You need to remove it. Delete the texture. Oh no, he looks crazy. Don't worry. What we want to do now is under the texture layer, we want to go to edit and go to textures, and we want to go to import. Again, that's under the texture layer, edit, textures, and import. Okay? Leave all of this the way it is. Go to select textures. I'm going to go to the updated character. This is the one that we just made. So you find the texture that you just made and change that one color blue. I'm going to hit import. Now now it's blue. Now, if you imported the other way, like if you went and clicked, what is it? if you went here and clicked import, it's a little deceiving because it will show the same thing, but it won't work in the game. It won't work the way you want. It'll like it'll be the same color, but it'll look strange. So just make sure you delete the texture if you're updating it and re-import it. Okay. So we have our updated texture. Also, one thing I'm going to do too is I don't want to explain too much because it'll be confusing, but these little diamonds here, these are move points, and it tells characters to move. His move points are all the way back to where they were before. You don't have to do this, but it'll just help. Just so you know what I'm doing here. If you see these little diamonds, again, it's all the way at the end of the map. There's 4 diamonds. What I'm going to do is select all 4 of these because these are his move points. And I'm going to move them all the way to the front of the map. Whoop. Okay, we'll do that. That's fine. Yeah, again, in order to select multiple things at once, I hold down Control, and then I move it that way. Yeah, okay. So what we've done is we've changed his color to, or his coat and pants color to blue. And then we also moved his move points. That way he's going to move in a circle here. Great. What do we do now? If everything, and you make sure you follow this exactly the way it is, otherwise it's going to freak out. You want to hit under the E001. Make sure you're doing this under your map and not the boot. Under E001.hip, hit File, and then Save. Okay. Now we want to what we want to do is we want to play this in Blender, not Blender. We want to play this in Dolphin. You're not going to hit play. What you're going to do instead, before we even do that, actually, we're going to go into, whoops. Okay, we're going to go into our Scooby files, and under Files, we're going to scroll all the way down, and then we're going to go to sd2.ini. This is going to seem random, but I promise it's not. Just so to recap, because if you're following along, I might be going too fast. Go to Files, where all your Scooby files are, and then scroll all the way down where the files are, where they're alphabetically in order, and go to sd2.ini. Okay, I'm gonna double click that. It should pop up in your notes, your notepad. You'll notice a few things here. Boot equals h.001. This is telling what map to put the player on in the very beginning. We do not want to be on that map. We want to be on the E001, the one that we've been editing. We want to boot on that map. So that's what we're going to do. Show menu on boot equals 1. We want to change that to 0. And we're going to just keep everything else the same. There's different things that you can change here. So you can give yourself the inventions. I think, yeah, special moves for players. You can, if you change 0 to 1, it will, give you those things. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. It really doesn't matter. I'm going to hit save and then close out of it. Now, in Dolphin, I'm not going to hit play. I'm going to hit open, and I'm going to go back to the, the files, where we save the files. I'm going to go to system. Okay. So remember how we had files and we have system. We're going to go to system and then main.dol. So I'm going to open that. Okay. So it's loading, and we're going to just test to see if that worked. And it worked. So, pretty cool, right? Now, what if I want to make him like gain weight or something? Well, that's going to require Blender. So that's going to be an awesome segue into how we get that set up. Now, like I said, I'm using Blender 4.5.3, and you'll want to use that one. I have it linked in that PDF. But Blender 4.5.3, if you are not super familiar with Blender, I mean, you'll want to know the basics before you do anything, because I'm not gonna go over all of it here, but I am going to go over how to install our add-ons. So if I go back to, what is it? Here, right? You'll notice that most of what you're downloading is zip files. The only thing that you're not going to download through a zip file is going to be the Dragon DFF. In order to add, add-ons and whatnot, you go to Edit in Blender. So Edit and then Preferences. And you have Get Extensions and you have add-ons. Now, I think Dragon FF or whatever, if you just search Dragon FF, you can install it there. So it's either Dragon DFF or Dragon FF, whatever, but you'll find it. So that's the one that you just hit install and it'll install. The other add-ons, however, all the add-ons that you've downloaded on that list, you want to go to add-ons, and then in that little arrow, you want to hit install from disk. And you'll find it. You'll want to click on the zip file. So you'll install the zip file, the .zip file. You do not install an extracted zip file. Do not extract them. It won't work. So import the zip files. Okay. So again, all of these add-ons, it just allows you to import and export all these different file types that we're using. Now, how do I get the Wolfman from our game into here? Well, I'll show you how to do that. I'm going to go back to Industrial Park, and I'm going to find the Wolfman. So actually, I think we already exported him, didn't we? We did. Yeah, we already exported him. So I guess we don't need to do that again. So instead, I'm going to go back into Blender. I'm going to go to File, Import, Dragon FF, and then we'll find the WM_bind. You know what? I'm just going to show you again just so you see. In case you need a refresher. Whoops. So in order to find him, it's going to be in the search bar. So WM_bind. And then you can either right click and export raw, or you can edit data and export textures. I recommend just going to edit data and export textures. Hit export. Okay. And then you can save him. Okay. Sorry for being redundant, but I know it's a lot of information. I just want to make sure y'all have what you need. Okay, so in Blender, I'm going to go to import Dragon FF, and here we go. Now, why does he look like that? Because he hates you. No, I'm just kidding. He doesn't hate you. The way that it imports in here is a little funky. But what we do is we click on him, and then under data, so object data profiles, or properties, object data properties, yeah. Under color attributes, you have to click on this. And then now he looks normal. Now, what I want to do is I want to change the mesh. I want to change the model. The easiest way to do that, I guess if we're just doing the basics here, if I go to under object mode, I can go to sculpt mode, and I'm just gonna make him add a little bit of weight. I'm gonna go change at the bottom here. I'm gonna change it to draw, and I'm just gonna I can change the strength of my brush at the top here. We just want to do something that tests it out. And yeah, I'm gonna make my brush a little bigger. Oh, not that much. Do that. Sure, that's fine. And then I'm gonna give him a little belly, maybe. Make his shoulders a little bigger. Sure. I mean, I think that's enough to prove our point here. Okay, so we have our fat Wolfman. Now I'm going to go to File, Export, and then under Dragon FF, I'm going to save it. I made a new folder called Updated Character. I recommend doing that. just so you can kind of distinguish the two. But I'm going to name this WM_bind, exactly the way it was, right? So I'm going to hit export, and then it finished exporting. Now what I want to do is in Industrial Park, we want to open up the map window again. So e001.hip. I want to find WM_bind. I'm going to go to edit data, and we're going to import a model. Notice how I don't delete it and add it that way. So it's not the same as the texture. So you want to go to import model, and then we will find the updated character that you have. So import, and there he is. Now we want to test it in our game. I'm going to click under the map. I'm going to click File, Save, and then go back to Dolphin. And we're going to see how that looks. And there he is. So that is pretty much how we do everything in the game. Or not everything, but that's just the basics. How to change the mesh for a character. There's some more advanced things like doing the vertex colors. I think I'm gonna make a separate video on the maps. But yeah, that's gonna be it for today.